The week had been cold. Frost crawled through the night and settled on the greenery by morning. Everything had frozen. The sun hid away, as did the moon. Only the clouds remained, a mass of seemingly endless grey that hung above us. Due to the weather, the soil had become stubbornly hard, and as a result, we went for a walk instead of working in the garden. The route began on the road. We walked past the crystallized puddles, past the scattered grit salt and solidified mud, until we arrived at a gate. The gate led us to a cropless field that crunched under our feet. Gradually, a small lump on the horizon grew larger and larger, until we got close enough to see what lay in our path. In front of us was a huge, frozen mound of dirt. Nothing had to be said. Immediately, the group of people around me ran up the slope. Jennifer and I hurried to the other side. She counted down from 3, and they leapt down as quickly as they got up. Propelled by excitement, we continued our journey into the ancient woodlands.
I've decided to talk about these photos taken by my great grandfather because behind them there is a lot of history and mystery. Most of these faces are stranger to me, and the only thing I know about them is that they were part of my family such a long time ago. It's strange to think that my existence may have depended on them. When you look at these photos, you seem to go back in time. From all of these shots, you can understand that this was another era. From their clothes to their expressions on their faces. When I printed this series, I purposefully give them a great tone to create an older feeling. They make you want to know more about their lives, know what they did or where they lived, who they were.
It was late. I had just arrived in Madrid, and I was on my way to my friend's apartment. The streets were full and alive, while I was almost sleepwalking to the metro. Everyone was rushing around me, busying their lives away. Then, as I walked down the steps of the underground, I saw this woman, just sitting, looking completely and utterly relaxed. I think she was the first person I had seen who was truly alone, and all I could picture her thinking was what was headlining on page 3. When I look at the picture now, I can see all the lines that were drawing my eye to her, from the train and the overhead lights to the reflection and even the railings next to me. In that moment, her stillness was the center of my busy world.
Some fall apart too soon. She is lost, unable to be found on any map. Her pain is so deep, it has become contagious. She will spend this morning staring out the window, counting all the miracles in paradise. In a previous life, she was a sea creature, drawing strength and power from the salty depths of the ocean. Now, she is drowning in the past, in a ceaseless stream of split wine. Her face is a dream buried in a shadow, and her heart.
This photograph was number 35 on a roll of film I took in November when I was starting out in photography. I needed to finish the roll quickly because I was meeting someone in the darkroom for developing, so it was kind of spontaneous and I hadn't planned on photographing Stephanie. It was probably 3 o'clock or just before 3, and the sun was pouring into the school, still really warm. When we first got to the flat, Stephanie took us out onto the roof and I shot 3 frames of her and Yoel in conversation. I also took some photos of them both through a window. I took the photo of Stephanie inside. I still wasn't used to the camera at this point, and it took me some time to adjust the settings. So in that process, she moved out of the light. She's laughing because I immediately told her she should go back to where she was. When I printed the image, I thought it was too dark. But I actually like that now because there are 3 pieces of light in the frame which create the depth. One of them brings Stephanie's face into the foreground, and without that she'd be lost in the scene in the darkness. On the ceiling above her, there's a soft light that to me kind of looks like a cloud, one of the clouds that are there when the moon is out, and I like it because it's strange. Yet I also like the familiarity of the space around her. It's a home. She's holding a cup. There are kitchen things and photographs on the door. You can tell it's her home.
I took this photograph at midday on a very clear, cold day in December. I took this photograph with my Leica M3 camera. I chose this camera because I wanted to take this photograph in black and white. What I like about this photograph is how the 4 trees all slope down towards the left of the page, where there is one tree that is branching out in all directions. I like the way that the tree on the left of the page has a lot of ivy growing all around it. The tips of the branches have no leaves on them at all, which draws your eyes to the end of the branches. In the background and the foreground it is very sparse. The sky is very plain, as is the field in the front of the trees.
This photo was one of the first photos I took using an analog camera, and I wasn't really focusing much on the framing or how the printed image was going to look. I was too busy remembering how to use the camera. I had caught Genevieve on her way up the stairs and asked if I could take a picture of her. When I did so, I had no real idea of what I wanted the picture to turn out like. I just snapped a photo. However, once I got into the dark room and started printing, I saw the picture in a completely different way. Right away, I noticed that the left half of the image was a lot darker than the right, and that the right side, the lighter side, was coming from the window, from outside. The spread of light, along with the direction she's facing, makes me think of the outside, nature, being lighter, freer, in contrast to the inside, being darker, heavier, and more trapped. The way she's facing seems as if she's stuck inside in the dark, but looking out of the window, towards the light outside. It appears as if she's longing to be there, away from the place she's in. The picture has a lonely, almost melancholy feel to it.
At first, when I looked at this photograph on my contact sheet, I didn't think much of it, but decided to print it anyways because of the memories I had from that day. A bunch of students and staff members impulsively went to the beach on a seemingly sunny Sunday. I wasn't meant to go. I wasn't in the best mood, to be honest. But at the very last minute, I ran to my room, got changed, and hopped in the van. 14 seats for 14 people. Maybe it was meant to be. After printing the first print, I started really enjoying the photograph. There was something which intrigued me about the composition of the people. I started looking closer at the details to maybe understand or see what was it that had struck me. I noticed small things that forced me to contemplate instead of judging the photograph. I was starting to look into it rather than at it. I think it's funny to see how our perceptions of things can change when noticing little details. That's what this print made me realize. There's something very complimentary in this picture. The action present in the feet of the people gives this photograph a sense of life. There's something light about it. I love how the person on the right feels like she's bringing something forward, and the post in the water recedes back, suggesting a depth. I also love the play between the people in front, a sort of unconscious dance where they mirror each other.